According to recent reports, Venezuela has asked Russia for military assistance. The requests? They're not small. Caracas has reportedly asked for Russian-made Su-30 Mk-2 fighter jets, repairs and upgrades to existing aircraft, new radar systems, and around 14 missile units ready for deployment. And Moscow seems willing to help. The Kremlin has already said it's prepared to respond to Venezuela's calls within the framework of military technical cooperation. So what does that really mean? Are we about to see Russian-built fighters and missile systems in a position to target U.S. Navy ships or nearby military bases across the Caribbean? Or is this simply another move in a much larger geopolitical chess game, one that's slowly shifting toward confrontation? Let's start with the basics. Venezuela already operates a small fleet of Su-30 Mk-2s, heavy twin-engine fighter jets capable of long-range interception and precision strikes. But many of those aircraft have been grounded for years due to lack of maintenance and spare parts. Now, with help from Russia, the plan is to refit and modernize the fleet, bringing them back to full combat readiness. The package includes engine overhauls, radar calibration, and the possible delivery of new missiles. If that happens, it would make Venezuela's Air Force one of the most powerful in Latin America, and that's exactly what's raising alarms in Washington. While Caracas strengthens ties with Moscow, the United States is quietly increasing its presence in the Caribbean. In recent days, 2 massive B-52 Stratofortress bombers were spotted flying near Venezuela's coast, part of a visible show of force by the U.S. Air Force. Satellite images also reveal a growing concentration of American ships and aircraft near the region. At first, these movements were described as routine exercises. But if you look at the timing, right as Russia confirms its willingness to support Maduro, the message seems clear. Is this really about training or about deterrence? And how far is Washington willing to go to keep another Russian ally from gaining a strategic foothold so close to home? The latest report suggests something even more serious. U.S. forces in the region could be preparing for Tomahawk cruise missile strikes against specific military targets inside Venezuela. Let that sink in for a second. Precision missiles launched from ships offshore, targeting radar stations or military depots inside a sovereign country. If that ever happened, it would mark a dramatic escalation, not just between the U.S. and Venezuela, but potentially between the U.S. and Russia itself. Because, let's be honest, if Russian technicians are working on Venezuelan radar systems or aircraft, any strike risks hitting Russian personnel. And then what? Would Moscow stay silent, or would we suddenly find ourselves in a proxy conflict in America's own backyard? Let's talk scale. In the Caribbean right now, the U.S. reportedly has more than 10,000 military personnel spread across ships, submarines, and air bases. The Gerald R, one of the most advanced aircraft carriers in the world, has been seen in the area. Alongside it, there are destroyers, amphibious assault ships, and support vessels, all capable of launching or coordinating attacks. From the air, B-52 and B-1 bombers continue long-range patrols. Meanwhile, on the Venezuelan side, the armed forces are focusing on improving early warning and anti-aircraft capabilities, with help from Russian systems like the Buk and Panzer platforms. That's not a minor upgrade. If those systems become operational, they could threaten U.S. aircraft or missiles approaching Venezuelan airspace. So we have 2 heavily armed forces staring each other down across just a few hundred miles of water. How long can that tension last before something gives? Among the American units recently deployed, one name keeps coming up: the Night Stalkers. Officially, they're part of the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, and their specialty is covert night missions, stealth insertions, target extractions, and precision strikes in near-total darkness. Why does that matter here? Because if the U.S. ever decides to neutralize radar or command centers before a larger attack, these are the soldiers who would do it. They operate helicopters equipped with advanced infrared systems, flying low and fast, often undetected. Their presence in the Caribbean suggests preparation for much more than simple monitoring. At the same time, Venezuelan forces, with Russian assistance, are reinforcing strategic installations around Caracas and coastal bases, making any such operation incredibly risky. So again, we have to ask, is all this positioning just deterrence, or are both sides quietly preparing for the unthinkable? Let's not forget, Venezuela is not an easy country to fight in. The dense jungle, steep mountains, and humid coastline make movement slow and unpredictable. Even advanced technology can't completely overcome geography. Military analysts have warned that any operation inside Venezuela would be complex and costly. It's a massive territory with natural defenses that favor the defender. Add to that the political reality, a population that despite hardship can rally behind nationalist sentiment when faced with external threats, and you have the recipe for a very messy conflict. Could Venezuela become the next flashpoint where a local crisis spirals into a global standoff? So why should anyone outside the region care? Because the Caribbean isn't just another patch of ocean. It's one of the most strategic areas on Earth. It's a crossroads for trade, energy routes, and now, perhaps, for global power competition. When Russian aircraft or missiles appear there, it challenges the US directly in its own hemisphere. And when the US responds with bombers and carriers, it signals to Moscow that this is a red line. This is no longer just about Venezuela. It's about influence, deterrence, and the balance of power. And in a world already strained by conflicts elsewhere, the last thing anyone needs is another front, especially one this close to home. So what's next? Will Russia actually deliver those Su-30 fighters and missile systems? Will the US continue ramping up pressure, or will diplomacy cool things down before it's too late? Right now, the skies above the Caribbean are getting busier, the ships are getting closer, and the stakes are getting higher. We're watching a high-stakes game unfold, a game that could determine not only Venezuela's future, but also the next major confrontation between global powers. And the question remains, is this the calm before the storm, or has the storm already begun? And that's where we'll leave it for now. The situation around Venezuela is changing fast. New deployments, new alliances, and a growing sense that something big could happen at any moment. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching and staying curious about what's unfolding behind the headlines. Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments. Do you think this buildup will stay as a show of force, or could it turn into something more? If you found this video informative, give it a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next update. Until next time, stay alert, stay informed, and see you in the next one.